I know what you want. You want to see the movie.
How are we opening this one?
Just like a freestyle rap.
Speaking of rap, how about that Eminem
No one here listened
Machine
to...
Gun Kelly beef?
You're in the wrong room.
Wrong room?
You're in the wrong room for that.
It's heavy beef, dog.
No one cares about
They
that.
throwing down.
How about some... I have some more heavy beef for you. The Littlest Reich, not a good movie.
Not good.
No. It was just not. It was all just kill scenes.
It was all kill scenes, but kind of framed by a really stupid story.
Yeah.
Why is Thomas Lennon in this?
I don't know. Like,
That's a bummer.
I was excited because it was written by the guy that did Bone Tomahawk.
In Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yeah. And it was starring Thomas Lennon. And I was like, groovy. I'm into that. And then I watched it and I'm like, I still love Thomas Lennon, but I just kind of feel bad that he's here. Like, you could be doing other stuff that's better than this. You're better than this.
They really take away from the actual backstory of Andre Toulon from the original movies.
They made him a more two-dimensional character.
They made him just a villain.
Yeah.
He's just a stock villain.
Yeah.
A stock Nazi bad guy. Yeah. Nazi bad guy. I don't know when we're going to get over this Nazi bad guy trope. Probably never.
Probably never, no.
The same time they run out of World War II documentaries.
Well, it's
never gonna happen.
It's like a built-in thing. Like, you say Nazi. Oh, okay, I know who that is. I know what their deal is. And it's just, it's lazy. It's lazy writing.
It's lazy, and I was disappointed to see that happen to a really interesting character from the earlier Puppet Master movies.
Puppet Master 3, dog. All day.
I like all three of them. About the same. I might be more partial to the first two, but
There
I
were
haven't...
like 7. What do you mean all 3?
I only like the
You
first
only
three.
count the first 3?
Retro Puppet Master?
No? Retro didn't do it for you?
Neither did Curse of the Puppet Master.
With the simpleton in the south, doesn't he get turned into a puppet at the end?
Which one has the dust-filled mummy zombies?
That's retro.
Yeah. No,
I remember when we rented that when it first came out. Mm-hmm. And we were like, the fuck is this?
yeah,
And it's
14-year-old
starring
Anthony and Nick.
the guy from The Room.
Yep, not good. Did not enjoy it. And they made all these different puppet designs, like the frog.
The frog. I actually kind of like the frog, and it's funny because we just
OG Jester for life, dude.
Yeah, no,
life.
He's probably my Torch might be my favorite, but it might be Jester. I don't know.
I go back and forth between those two.
I go between those two
because everybody obviously loves Blade. It's fine.
Yeah,
he's cool. But Jester and Torch.
But like, I was looking at the back of the DVD, and there are like puppets on the back that aren't in the movie. Like, there's this weird
you buy it on DVD?
No, we got them at work.
Oh.
I think it comes out like Tuesday, and I saw it, and I was looking at the back, and there are puppets on there that aren't in the movie. Like, there's a beaver that's dressed like a park ranger or something.
I want to
see
that one.
Yeah, I'm like, where's that in the movie? I want to see the park ranger beaver killing some people. And the quote on the front of the DVD killed me. It's like, the craziest movie of 2018. I'm like, dude, that's Mandy.
Yeah,
like, you're wrong.
It's I don't know. It felt just like a movie. I think I started to get uncomfortable when it said Fangoria Presents.
Yeah.
And I was like,
a Fangoria movie. You could tell.
Yeah,
it's always a bad sign.
Well, but like iZombie was the first Fangoria movie, right?
An
I
interesting
don't remember
movie.
that being bad.
That was an interesting little movie. Fangoria Presents used to not make me cringe.
Yeah.
They also, I think, put out the last horror movie, which is essentially Man Bites Dog.
Right.
But now when I see that, I go, uh-oh.
Because Fangoria is not what it once was.
Yeah, and so join us again on Real Obscure for more Fangoria shit talking.
Yeah, right?
But
like
I think the Littlest Reich was probably the most disappointing movie I've seen this year.
Misfire, big time misfire.
Big misfire. And
I mean, watching it, I was still entertained by Thomas Lennon, but that's because I like Thomas Lennon. I have this thing where it's like I need to separate that good actors and actors I like can be in movies that are shit. And then I'll be like, oh, but it has this person and this person. And my girlfriend's like, yeah, but that doesn't make it a good movie. Like, they're good, but it's not a good movie.
Right.
And I think that's what Littlest Reich is. Because I'm a fanboy of Lennon to the death. Reno 911 for life. But no, it was just a bad movie.
It was boring. Yeah, cool. It has some crazy kills, but that ultimately didn't make it an enjoyable enough watch for me.
Yeah.
The kills and the gore effects were cool, but I'm to the point where I'm past that. High school me probably would have dug it.
Yeah.
Me now, no.
But apparently we're not past the gore, because
Yeah.
today we're talking about Herschell Gordon Lewis's film Blood Feast.
You're nailing those segues.
Whoa.
And we haven't done an entrance yet. The around the table. Who are you? Who am I? What's the name of the show?
I was about to get to it when I win, but now you've
Sorry.
massacred my segue. I'm Anthony Trevino, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Obscure Podcast. As you know now, we're talking Blood Feast, Herschell Gordon Lewis, OG splatter film, and sitting shotgun to me is
Brandon Freese, your favorite talking pie.
And sitting opposite you, rubbing your foot with my foot, is Nick Rock.
I'm glad you dropped the Nick the Rock Johnson bit.
I was gonna continue it. I started playing around with, like, am I gonna do, like, Nick Rock and Roll, or find other things with
Nick,
Rock?
just Nick Rock and Roll?
Yeah, Nick Rock and Roll. Just anything with Rock that I can tie onto the back of, because that's too good of a last name not to use for stuff. But then I was like, oh, Nick the Rock, like the movie with Nick Cage. But then I'm like, I already did that with the Johnson. So I'll figure out some good ones. I'll bring it back. Just you wait.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to that. So, Brandon, can you tell us a little bit about Blood Feast?
Blood Feast, 1964 by Herschell Gordon Lewis. I believe this was his first movie. And it's based... Actually, no, I'm wrong. It's his first splatter movie.
Yes.
It's his first, like,
his
gore
first,
movie.
like, horror movie.
And it's about Fuad Ramses.
Fuad Ramses.
Ramses.
And he works at a grocery store where he also caters. He does Egyptian feasts. And his idea behind this is he kills people and to prepare these feasts to bring back an ancient goddess called Ishtar. And that's the whole story of this movie.
Now, so I'm a little confused because he runs the grocery store and he does catering and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he does Egyptian feasts. But the whole time he's like...
In
this
the back
will
room
be...
of his grocery store.
Right. But he's like, this will be the first feast of its kind in 5,000 years. I'm like, so is this your first catering gig, bro? Like, what were you doing before this? If this is the first Egyptian feast in 5,000 years... What were you?
He was
putting
prepping
out Panda
for
Express trays. Like, what were you doing?
He was prepping for this big ass feast.
I'm just saying, it seems like a poor business model to specialize in feasts that only happen once every 5,000 years.
He needed just the right waspy white woman to come in and say, "Oh, I simply must have a feast for my daughter."
Do you like my orange hat?
That was a wicked hat.
that was a pretty killer hat.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this Fuad Ramses is like the classic bad guy, where this woman, Mrs. What was her name?
Fremont.
Mrs. Fremont. She comes in and say, "Hey, I'd like to do a party for my daughter. Can you cater?" And he's like, "Yes, we have the finest ingredients."
But you're missing that very weird prologue
of the girl
walking in, and she has a book called what was that book? Ancient Weird Religious Rites, just sitting by the bathtub. I'm assuming
because another very waspish looking woman would be reading that.
That's my bubble bath, my princess bath reading.
Well, that actually is ours, but for her, it's very out of character.
What are you talking about, Nicholas?
The one thing I love that he did with Fawad is the wild eyes. They comment on it a bunch, and there's a lot of cut-ins on his eyes being really big, and it reminded me of, like, Bela Lugosi Dracula, like old school. They always focused on the eyes super big, and
he has an old school bad guy vibe.
Yeah, and I dug it. I gotta say, I dug it.
And something with these movies is the gore is actually kind of brutal. Because
it is, but it's not.
It looks like paint.
Yeah,
the blood looks like paint, but like the gore, where we like see the leg cut off in the bathtub in the beginning.
Yeah,
you see like bone and you see meat, and it's kind of visceral. Like it's not realistic looking.
No,
but it's just kind of like
it's almost more visceral because it isn't realistic.
Yeah,
looking.
it's just like they like they found a bunch of raw meat and put it in a tube and stuck a bone in there, and it's just kind of like it's
Gorilla glued that shit to the end of a fake appendage, so you
Yeah.
get like real meat hanging
Yeah.
off.
Right, and he's
weird
like, all right,
strings.
Mal, just get in there and squeeze it a bunch.
Yeah.
Squeeze everything out of it.
Squeeze it! Just squeeze it!
And yeah, Mel Arnold plays Fuad Ramses, and he's
pretty good in it.
he's good. He is chewing the scenery like you would as a bad guy.
He's acting the way I would expect somebody who's like classically trained in the theater
Right.
to act.
like a Vincent Pricey kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
very
I think, yeah, he's a character actor.
classic villain
Yeah.
style. Yeah,
And I think it works. He's got the limp,
right.
which later on in the movie is my favorite scene. But
I think that his acting is, like you said, classically trained and stuff, and definitely a step above the cops. Which
Oh, for sure.
oh god,
Good
those,
lord.
all those
Good
scenes.
lord.
So I feel like this movie has a very like easy structure to follow. It's murder, cop talk, murder, cop talk,
Yep.
murder, cop talk.
Yep.
In the same fucking room at the police station.
One of my favorite lines in the very beginning where they're first talking, the cops are sitting there talking about the murder, and one of them goes, well, we're just working with a homicidal maniac, that's all. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, who?
How often does this happen
Is
here?
that your deduction? That he's...
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. And so one of the cops is named Pete, and he is kind of the main detective on the case of they don't know what's Fuad yet.
I want to throw out a couple things real quick. I'm not sure if it's Pete, but one of them, there are a couple of weird wrestling synchronicities. One of them is played by Scott Hall, who is,
Okay.
as we all know, Razor Ramon, Chico.
yeah,
And
we all
there's
know
another
that.
one-
We
know
all
that.
know that.
And there's another one later that comes up that I'll point out when we get to it. But
Okay.
just a couple little things that's like
Little wrestling parallels.
foreshadowing to the good old WWE Attitude Era.
So this character name is Pete. He's like the main detective following these murders. And so we cut to a couple making out on a beach who are supposed to be teenagers, but in the classic horror thing, they're like 45 years old.
Right.
And
Stacy, are you ready for that homecoming dance? Why, yes, I am, other 15-year-old.
I have to get home before my dad gets mad.
Yeah. And then in the other scene, he's playing her dad.
And so Fuad comes up on the beach, bludgeons the guy, not to death, and then
He kills her on the beach.
he kills her. I think he scalps her.
I think he cuts her brain out.
Yeah.
Quick thing.
Beach python!
Yeah.
Beach
Snake
python.
on the beach?
Yeah,
Yes.
beach python!
I put a note. Just snake on the beach? With a
Yeah.
question
Because it's
mark?
so random. Does he just bring the snake everywhere he goes?
Does he?
Because
Is
we
it
do
his
see
snake?
we do see the snake later in his like lair. With
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then I
But-
guess that.
but
I
did
thought
he
it was
find the
just a
snake on the
random,
beach?
Like he picked it up, like he murdered this woman. He's like, "You're coming with me."
Snake
Yeah,
on the
you're-
beach. When am I going to find this again?
Right, you're
We're
adorable.
like ever gonna find a beach python. This rules.
Beach Python sounds like a wicked band name.
Yeah. That's my
Right.
surf rock
That's your
black
cock-
metal
That's your
band.
cock rock album.
Yeah. Beach python.
Beach Python.
Oh, yeah.
Just the cover of the album is swim trunks with a snake coming out of the fly on a beach.
Yeah.
yeah.
Beach Python.
With our concept album, Fuad's Eats.
Fuad's 5,000-year-old Egyptian feast.
5,000-year feast. Oh, fuck. You
Now we
guys,
gotta do
I'm
it.
quitting writing. I'm quitting podcasting.
Quitting
I'm
everything.
starting a hair metal band.
I
called
was going to
Beach
say
Python.
a Frank Zappa style experimental band.
It's a 4-minute xylophone intro.
Love it.
So this woman gets killed. The man survives.
Hold on. He carries his machete in a sack.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he does.
He puts
That doesn't seem safe.
he puts
No.
the brain. Fuad puts the brains in a sack. Puts the machete in a sack and kind of ties it up like Santa Claus and walks away.
It was a different time, man. They didn't have all those parental
Hey,
locks.
He didn't have
like,
parental advisory stickers.
Right.
All of our grandparents had machete sacks.
They just
you
carried
guys.
them around.
Okay.
And the kid on the beach, great actor, by the way.
Oh yeah.
When he starts screaming and sobbing like, it's all my fault.
She wanted to live.
It's all my fault. I'm like, yeah, dude. It is literally all your fault.
Yeah, she did want to leave, and you said
And
no,
you
babe.
said, I'll protect you, nothing will happen, and now her
and then
brain's
something
gone.
immediately happened.
Right. It's literally nobody's
Not like
fault
they
but
got
yours.
robbed though.
No.
She got murdered
Yeah, straight
and
up.
her brain stolen by
That's
a
right.
guy named Fuad Ramses and his beach snake.
And something I have a note here that Herschell Gordon Lewis did the music
Did
for
he?
this, yeah, which is there's like the Fuad suite where it's just doom 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 doom,
Yeah.
and
there were a couple of parts that the music was doing that, and then someone died, and it went like that weird, like, comical, like, saxophone shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you putting a comic sting on somebody getting their eye stabbed out? Like, what just happened?
and so the detectives are talking. It's more cop talk, and
There's so much cop talk in this movie.
the cop that isn't Pete says, "I want emergency broadcasts on the radio every half hour about these murders." And it's like,
Every half hour?
that seems like a good way
That's
to cause a lot of panic.
Yeah.
He also says it in a weird way. He calls it homicide.
Homicide.
That's weird.
It's like that weird, like,
They have a
50s,
lot of
early
weird,
60s talk.
There's a lot of weird pronunciations and emphases on
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I put it on, like, the deliveries on these are choice. Like, every line is just weird thing that they say. And I'm like, this is great.
We are finding a homicidal maniac.
And
So they're stuck in the Black Lodge too.
they're doing the cop talk, and one of them mentions, is there anything that you could think why they would want to hurt her, or who she was hanging around with at the time? And the mom goes, something about her being in a book club, and the cop goes, a book club? Like, fucking Eureka! This is the break we've been waiting for. I'm like, it's a book club.
These are the dangers of reading.
Yep, don't do it.
You pick up one book, you end up in a 5,000-year-old feast.
Yep.
That's
Happens.
Not even once.
Not even once.
The danger-
Friends don't let friends read ancient religious rites.
Friends don't let friends go to weird Egyptian symposiums.
It's true.
I would love to go to a
That-
weird
Yeah,
Egyptian
me too.
symposium.
Me too.
It's at some point. I think it's after the woman who dies in the bathtub. There's shots of newspapers where the title is "Legs Cut Off."
And I put a note: worst fake newspapers ever. Like, they were printed on 8.5 by 11 computer paper.
Yeah,
Clearly.
And these cops are trying. It seems like they're trying to do their best to just cause mass hysteria.
yeah.
Every half an hour, a warning, and then legs cut off. Everyone panic.
Horrible mutilations.
Massive attacks.
And yeah, so there's this symposium that the daughter is going to, the daughter of Mrs. Fremont.
Oh, we skipped a murder though.
Did we?
Yeah, the woman in the hotel room.
Oh, right.
And-
With Captain Charisma.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
walking up behind her the whole time like
There's like this slinky drunk guy music playing.
Yeah. And the only reason that I even mentioned it, because it's such a cutaway thing that doesn't matter, that she, like, it was just literally just a kill scene for the kill scene, is the next wrestling thing. He mandible claws her.
He does!
To death.
He does. He rips... He
What the hell's a mandible claw?
Mankind's finisher.
Mankind's finisher, dog!
Oh my god.
He literally mandible claws her to death.
Yep.
And I'm like, why?
Yep.
What?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I couldn't
Right.
say that because it would have been lost on Anthony.
Oh, I'm glad you're holding back jokes because you think I'm dumb.
You wouldn't have gotten it.
You didn't know what a mandible claw was just now.
I don't know anything beyond a tombstone pile driver. I'm sorry.
So the mandible claw. Mick Foley reaches his two fingers.
You don't know
Mankind,
who-
my
you
man.
don't
I
who
know
Mick
you know who
Foley
Mick
is.
Foley
There's
is.
no way you don't know who Mick Foley is. Now you're being obtuse.
Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Mick Foley, my man.
Is that where Mr. Sacco came
Yes!
Yes, Sacco is the second iteration of the mandible claw. It was the mandible claw, then it became Sacco.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he sticks his fingers in your mouth, and it paralyzes you for
And
some
makes
reason.
you tap out. Like, you give up immediately.
It's so painful or gross to have this fat guy's fingers in your mouth. You're like, no!
I give up immediately. And then they upped the gross factor with Sacco, because
he
it was
pulls
his
it out of his
dirty
pants.
sock. Yeah, and he keeps it in his crotch.
Well, we've now become the podcast I always knew we would. 3 sweaty guys sitting in a room talking about wrestling finishers.
Yelling about fucking
All right.
Two guys
late
yelling about
90s
wrestling.
wrestling.
All right, you guys are great. Tell me more about
The
Fuad
nation
Ramsey.
of domination.
Mark Henry, bro.
World's strongest man.
You two missed out because
Sexual chocolate.
because Ben Kissel's whole section at Last Podcast Live was about pro wrestling.
I'm mad I missed it. I would have loved that. So, okay, back on track.
So
the
this
lady
woman-
gets killed in the motel.
She gets her tongue ripped out.
Right. And then it goes to the symposium.
It seems like Fuad Ramses is trying to get different body parts from each kill so he can have a vessel for the goddess to transfer into. That's not really clear.
Yeah, because he's getting the parts for a feast. There's a dog being killed. He's getting the parts for a feast, but then he's getting the individual parts to put her into, but they're gonna eat it?
Yeah.
And I don't really know, because if he's going to put Ishtar into all these body parts, he should be a little more surgical in how he removes them.
You mean he shouldn't just be like one-armed hacking away at different parts of the body like we always see? Just like somehow they replaced Fuad with a murder bot?
I could just picture him transferring Ishtar into these body parts, but they're all loose and chopped up.
They're just
so he puts her in and... Why would you do this?
I waited 5,000 years to become a broken meat puppet!
I cursed you, Fuad Ramses!
And he's like, ding!
Yes!
I guess I have to wait another 5 years. 5 years?
5 years.
5,000.
And I mean, if that's his goal, why not just kill one person?
Yeah, just
like,
take
shoot
all
her in the head.
from that.
Yeah, it's never specified why he needs different body parts other than
from different people.
From different people. I mean, I think other than the fact that probably wouldn't be as long of a movie if he just was trying to kill one person.
I mean,
that's a real quick move. That's a Creeperson movie right there.
It's clear.
That's the last time we're ever mentioning Creeperson.
From here on out, saying that name is like saying Voldemort.
Oh.
We do not say it.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
name something else where you can't say
God.
the name.
You're not into wrestling. You're ragging on Harry Potter. I don't know what
I'm
to
this
do
goddamn
with
podcast edgelord, okay?
Okay.
All right, Dad.
Now let me put my trench coat back on. Oh!
In this 100-degree room. But yeah, I mean, this movie's sole purpose is just like a vehicle to get to gore scenes, which is fine.
It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, Herschell Gordon Lewis himself. I have a quote from him. He compares Blood Feast to a Walt Whitman poem. It was no good, but it was the first of its kind.
That's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him for at least being self-aware.
Yeah.
Unlike He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Thank you.
Man.
Thank you.
Yeah, somewhere in Orange County, someone just went,
Someone dropped their Hot Pocket.
Someone dropped their Hot Pocket in their copy of Incel Weekly.
And so then...
My collector's edition!
So what's with the woman in the hospital that got her face hacked off? That's the next
That
person we see, right?
That was a victim, but she survives momentarily.
Right, and the cops are like, if she can identify the killer, that'll be the break in the case. Like,
if she can solve this case, she'll solve the
if
case.
she can do our jobs for us.
We don't have to do anything but stand here and smoke cigarettes and talk about how lost we are.
And they're standing in the hospital room where we don't see the woman, but it's the two detectives and then the doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, she's clinging on to life. She doesn't have long. And then we pan over, and she has this whole head bandage on.
All across her head.
And she's just like, oh, yeah, his eyes.
And he's like, wait a minute, are you that guy that everyone keeps calling about that's walking around in a full suit in the middle of Florida summer?
Let me see you walk. Do you have that weird limp?
Limping around?
What do you know about feasts?
And she's like, he said the name Ishtar. And on top of the just wonderful acting, he hasn't said anything during any of the other murders at all. Right. Not a single word. Right. Why is he just hacking at her face
Ishtar!
Going, Ishtar! The one clue you will need to catch me.
Because that's what we call a plot device.
But then, and what kills me is after that, the cop's like, that name sounds familiar. From the symposium I just sat through fucking yesterday.
Yeah.
Then it literally cuts to him in the police office going, Ishtar. Ishtar. I'm like, you're the worst fucking cop I've ever seen.
It's like he has the two names on cards, and he's like,
it's like that South Park with the hand killer. It's like, those are all left hands.
Wait a minute.
It's like, he's like, I need to do some research. That's this cop.
yeah.
Ishtar. Etar.
And this,
I don't know, there's something there.
And this symposium is...
and my girlfriend is having an Egyptian feast tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's certainly not related to this in any way.
Yeah. And this symposium where it's just like, here's everything you need to know about anything in this story.
Yeah.
It's the
Info
Egyptian...
dump to the cop
Yeah.
that needs the info, but none of it clicks together for him.
He's just like tapping his foot, waiting for it to be over. He's like, boy, I don't need to pay attention to this, do I?
I hope this isn't relevant to what is happening.
And the guy giving the lecture looks like Jeffrey Rush.
It's true.
You kind of look like Jeffrey Rush and Kurt Vonnegut had a kid.
Yeah.
an 80-year-old kid.
Is this the point of the movie where Fuad tries to crash that beach party hangout in the pool, and you see this woman sitting on her towel in a shadow of Fuad with his knife raised up, and then
she reacts to it. She
to
reacts
the
to the shadow being cast across her face,
and then
it goes away.
But then we cut to my favorite scene of him slowly trying to climb over the fence.
Yeah. He's like, oh shit, Fuad, you fucked up.
Gotta get out of here, Fuad. My favorite scenes of this movie all revolve around him slowly running away.
Yes.
Yep.
But it's, why did she react? She reacted to the shadow, but then didn't look at him and didn't see him. So I'm like, what did you react to? Like,
The
was it
spooky
like
shadow.
when a cloud goes over the sun, you're like, things just got darker
why
for a
did
second.
the light suddenly change?
It was weird that she reacted to the shadow.
Yeah, we like Anthony said, we cut to him running away, and it's just so funny because it's broad daylight, and he's just limping away, like, God damn it! And then
Hop along, Goblin Man.
with almost blue hair,
Yeah, and a machete. Nothing to see here.
And so one of the friends who's at this pool party leaves her house, and he's like hiding in a bush.
Yeah.
And then he limps out, kills her. No, doesn't kill her, knocks her out. Kidnaps her. And then just kind of drags her away in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And it's just like it was like a false start on Fuad Ramsey's part. He's like, nope, too soon.
That's a B-side kill for sure. And then it like shows him at the place, and he's like whipping her, being like, give yourself to Ishtar.
But he doesn't do that with any of the other ones.
Yeah, these motivations are kind of fuzzy.
It starts to go off the rails a little bit.
I don't think Fuad Ramses really knows the proper procedure for setting up these kills to offer up to a 5,000-year-old goddess. I think he's winging it.
For someone that's dedicated so much time, he has not done the proper research or legwork.
He's like, look, okay, I've gathered body parts. I
yelled at a bunch of people.
He's a real Tim Taylor. He doesn't read those instructions. He skims them. And he goes, okay, I think I need some body parts. I think I need to whip somebody. I don't know.
I want Brandon
I'm glancing at best
to cut a video of just the kill scenes with Fuad Ramses, and then if he looks at the camera, pause it and go,
Yes, Mrs. Fremont. I do cater to unusual affairs. What do you consider to be unusual?
I'd watch that.
Herschell Gordon Lewis's Home Improvement.
Oh, yes, please.
So then he's like whipping her and stuff, and then he starts cooking for the feast, and he like puts a leg in the oven and closes it, and there's that weird like shadow clock.
Yeah.
And then he opens it and it's all cooked. I'm like, did time just pass? What? I don't know what that was.
Oh, yeah. And it's... Because it looks like he walked away for
a second
and came back and it was
this
fully
weird
cooked.
shadow clock showed up. And then it's like, oh, roast is done. And then the cops show up, right? He goes...
This is when he's trying to put it all together in the detective office. He's like...
doing the Ishtar. Oh my god.
Oh, fuck!
And then, like, suddenly. And he's like, I know exactly who our boy is. And
He's the only person in Florida walking around in a suit in the middle of summer with a machete.
He shows up in the back room. And I love this. They're like, good lord. And there's all the body parts. And the girl that was kidnapped is now dead on the altar. And it pans down her body. And it gets to her feet. And I'm like, is that fucking salad? There's a bowl of salad sitting between her feet. So I'm like, this whole thing has been... Did he have a snack? And he just left it there? He was just being sloppy? The whole thing is about cutting human body parts out to make meat food for this ritual. And he's got a fucking bowl of salad sitting on his altar.
He's vegan.
See?
You gotta eat your greens, Nick.
That's true. He's not eating any of the bodies. He's like, oh, I'm vegan. I don't do that. I'll kill them and prepare the feast for... It's like when that baker wouldn't make the cake for the gay wedding. He's like, I'll make the feast for you, but I'm not going to eat. I'm a greens man.
And it's funny because the detectives walk in and it's dark, and so they don't see the body immediately. They turn the lights on and they see the body laid out, and they're like, oh, man.
Shucks. And it's important to keep in mind, he still has not connected that the party his girlfriend is having, that is having an Egyptian feast. He knows about the Egyptian feast, and he knows about this Egyptian serial killer, and he still has not put these two things together in his head until he's in that room. And then he's like, wait a minute.
Wait, Egyptian
feast. Blood feast. There's a part.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, 4. Shit.
I didn't turn the stove off.
And then he's like, I'm going to rush over there. And then the other cop goes, call over there. Tell him not to eat a thing.
But then that's at that party, Fuad is literally trying to murder her in her own kitchen.
Hold on. That's a little bit of a skip ahead because we get to the party. And the first thing I had to say, lamest fucking party ever,
It's pretty boring.
It's like...
But Nick, that's how rich people party. They float around and say, oh, how are you doing?
And apparently make long-distance calls to their boyfriend at their friend's house to keep the line busy.
And that's how they all stay rich people. They're all jacking up other people's phone bills.
No, that's smart.
That's smart. I gotta start doing that.
Thinking ahead.
Can I use your cell phone, Anthony?
No. You may not.
And then Fuad's like, okay, well, I need to take the woman of honor at this party, and she needs to help me with the last part of the feast. And he takes her in there, and he's like, the way this is done, you lay upon the altar, and you act as if you were being given to Ishtar, keeping in mind that this chick was at the symposium, too.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows what the Feast of Ishtar is.
Yep.
She reads books about ancient religious rites, but she's not seeing that something isn't right with this Egyptian Ishtar feast that hasn't been done in 5,000 years, that I watched a symposium on and read a fucking book about.
Or the fact that the guys say, lay on your kitchen table.
Yeah. Close your eyes.
What was funny to me is when she walks into the kitchen, there's no food.
No.
And she's like, oh, where's all the food? And he's like, it's in the garage. Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, Fuad, you didn't bring the decoy food.
So
That's the ticket.
Did he show up to this thing with no food, expecting this to go perfectly?
But everybody thinks he's the caterer. Wait a minute.
Wait, he showed up in a 2-door car with no food. What are you doing? But he has a machete, though.
He has a machete in a sack, so he's trustworthy.
And that snake, are we going to eat a snake?
Stacey, I don't want to alarm you, but there's a snake in the living room.
When they talk about, he goes into the party and talks about the feast and everything, the party, they all start going, oh my goodness, there's like general murmur, and I swear the first thing that popped in my head was that episode of The Simpsons when they're like, I'm so hungry I could eat at Arby's, and everybody goes, oh my god, he's really hungry. Like, that's exactly what it sounded like. I waited for that line of dialogue to come out. I had to throw in the Arby's reference. But then the cop shows up right when he's about to sacrifice her, right?
Yeah, he has the machete over his head, and he's like, give yourself to Ishtar, and she's reciting this incantation or whatever.
Because she is the dumbest woman in film history.
But if that's all it took, why did we kill all these other people? If that's really what he was aiming for, and that is a ballsy move.
Yep.
To be in another room at a party.
No, that's what happens. The mom walks in and finds him.
Yeah. Because he's gonna bring back Ishtar, bro.
Yeah, it's
that's
worth
gonna
it.
happen there. He doesn't have to worry about the party because Ishtar's coming and is gonna stay puff the shit out of all of them. Like,
Ishtar!
he's not worried about them because this is his foolproof plan coming to fruition.
So the mom walks in, sees her daughter about to get hacked to pieces by a machete, screams. And Fuad is just like, oh, fuck, the jig is up, instead of just bringing it down.
He immediately books.
As much as he can book it.
Yeah, right. he immediately shuffles away.
Because what starts is an amazing foot chase.
Yes.
It rivals the foot chase and death sentence in the parking spot.
Yeah.
It's really that well shot.
And my favorite part in this movie is Pete, the detective, comes in, who has been dating the daughter.
The dumbest couple that has ever lived.
And he's like, okay, so it's Fuad Ramses who is killing these people. He almost killed you. By the way, your friend is dead. I gotta go. Good luck with that.
He's real sensitive that way. He's a real Humphrey Bogart.
And then it's an intense chase.
It is.
The only note I have through this whole thing is you can't catch the guy with the bad limp
who's waving a machete around.
And they chase him onto what? It's like the beach? Or it's like a dump, It's
right?
like a dump because they're chasing him. It's two patrol officers and then the detectives are not far behind.
They're kind of...
And we see the dump truck in the foreground, in the background, and he runs to it, jumps in it, and then he's like, hey, I got you, coppers.
So long,
suckers. And then the door to the dump truck closes, and he gets killed.
Crushed the fuck up.
Which, to be quite honest, I thought was hilarious. That's my favorite scene of this movie.
That's the best scene. He just looks up and goes,
But then they park it, and the cops run up, and the guy driving the dump truck gets on and goes, what happened?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hey guys, what's going on? Oh, shit. And one of the detectives is like, buddy, you just did this town a service you don't even know. And the guy's like,
okay.
The guy's dead. What happened? Give me some context.
I have nothing to go off of.
Joe Dump Truck is like, I guess I'm a hero now?
And then after that happens, and they look at the body, and they're like, oh, you just did this town a huge service. And the other cop goes, yep, that was Fuad Ramses. He was preparing a feast for 5,000 years to offer up to the god Ishtar. And then he was doing it at my girlfriend's house. He literally goes through the entire plot.
Yeah. And the way I figured this out was I was at a symposium, and then I was sitting there.
And blah, blah, blah. And something about a book club that we never really cover, but it was there too. Like, he goes beat by beat by beat for the whole plot. Yeah. And then, after all that, the cops go, all right. And they leave.
And movie over.
Like, the body?
Yeah, first of all, they leave the dump truck guy with that responsibility.
Right.
It's like, hey, man.
He now has he's going to have to call, what was it, Bob's cleaning service?
Joe's cleaning service from Necromantic, yeah.
That's
hey,
who
Joe,
they have to call.
I got a real sexy one for you.
Ooh, you're going to have a blast.
I hope you like dark meat.
But they just left it. I'm like, no, cops, you take care of that. Like, I know it took you a long time to put Etar and Ishtar together, but it's your job to deal with the body and stuff.
I wish this movie ended on a freeze frame of the dump truck driver just looking confused. And then roll credits over it, just...
Herschell Lewis. So long, suckers! Ah, my bones! Doot, 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 doot.
God, we're dead.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
And so the last shot of the movie is the statue of Ishtar crying blood.
Mm-hmm.
because she's sad.
She's not coming to this world.
Her dusky god.
It's okay. It's only going to take 2 decades later for us to get to Blood Feast 2, and she'll get her second chance.
Yeah.
I don't think it works out well. I haven't seen it.
And I've seen it, but it was a long time ago.
I haven't seen it.
I had seen this one before, but it was one of those ones, it was so long ago, I may as well have not seen it.
Yeah.
And that's how the sequel is for me. And there's a remake from 2 years ago. Like a very recent
Crispin
remake.
Glover, right?
No, he's in the remake of Wizard of Gore.
Oh, right.
I thought there was a failed Indiegogo campaign for a Blood Feast remake.
Maybe. It's out.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I just saw the poster, which is like Fawad in a suit, but he's got like a goat head over his head or
He's
something
holding like that big axe or whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen it, yeah. I'll never watch it.
No, I have no interest.
So, yeah, that's it. Blood Feast.
Yeah.
I don't have any interesting facts or trivia, unfortunately, for this one.
Aside from the fact that I was interested, it was co-written by a woman. Alison Louise Down,
Okay.
who was Herschell Gordon Lewis's wife at the time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she co-wrote it.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting, but other than that, and the fact that obviously in a historical context, this is like the first splatter movie, the first one that really went into the gore. And they pulled some William Castle shit and handed out barf bags and stuff like that.
I think that's probably the most interesting thing about this movie is that it's kind of the first of its kind. It launched a whole like shock cinema type thing in America, and
well, I've heard it referred to as the first torture porn, and I don't agree with that because to me, torture porn inherently doesn't have a plot, and this has a plot. I mean, it's fucking loosely tied together, but it's there. There is a plot of some kind, so it's not. I don't think it falls under the torture porn.
No, I would say it's more splatter slasher. It's like
Right.
a splatter film, but it's also a slasher movie.
Yeah.
When I think torture porn, you think Saw.
Yeah, or Hostel.
Or Hostel or something.
Saw sequels. I think the first Saw wasn't.
Well, I like the first Hostel. I don't have a
true.
problem saying that. I actually like the first 2 Hostel
I like
movies.
the first Saw. But
So, Nick, would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, it's fine. Like, I don't think it's... Again, if you're a film person, it's important historically, I think, just for this niche of film, like for splatterpunk in general, it was like the granddaddy. So I think if you're a film person, you should see it. And it's not bad. It's bad, but it's like fun bad. Like it's the line deliveries are weird and funny, and gotta love Fawad. I'm a Fawad fan.
I think Fawad makes this movie.
Yeah,
Fawad, yeah.
And it's a lot of... It feels like a movie of its time. Like that early 60s kind of... The pacing isn't totally great, but that's the way a lot of movies were back then. And I think as a time capsule of what it is, it's worth watching, and it's not bad.
yeah, I'd say the same thing. I think it's campy and it's cheesy and it's pretty boring sometimes, but I would recommend it. I think it's historically interesting and I would definitely recommend it.
Anthony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you. I think it's an important film if you're into kind of sleazy, schlocky cinema. It's the first of its kind. I really like the story. In like, if you handed me an outline for the movie, I'd say, oh, this is cool. I like this. I'm interested in this. I think we could do away with all the cop talk scenes.
It was pretty heavy.
And some of the...
Not well done.
Some of the bad dialogue.
Yeah.
I liked it. I would recommend it only if you're into this kind of thing, though, because I could see somebody not being super into these types of movies and just being bored. Because I was a little bored at certain spots, but I like it. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I think if you know what you're getting into, you'll have fun with it.
All right, yeah.
And I think it's also a good one that, like, if you and a few buddies are gonna get together and drink beers and watch like a schlocky movie, this is a good pick.
Yes.
For that.
Yeah. This is
you
a good
could get
pick.
drunk and have fun and laughing at Fawad running and the weird line deliveries. You can have fun with it.
It's a good pick for your like bad movie, like bad
Right.
horror movie club or
Right.
horror movie club or whatever. It would be a good Halloween movie. to watch.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. So yeah, I think that's a unanimous recommendation from everybody.
Yep.
All right, well, until next time, I've been Anthony Trevino.
I'm Nick Rock.
I'm Brandon Freese, and I'm Everybody's Talking Pie.
Good night, everybody.